Welcome to episode number 264 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners polish off a 5-2 homestand. We'll have our takeaways. We'll react to some of the Mariners all-star selections. We have some Alex Bregman rumors to address from this last week. And we have our number 3 MLB Draft Spotlight.
Reminder to all you guys that are listening, make sure to download and rate and review if you're listening to the podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. The subscribe button really does help. And then you can find all of our stuff over at marinelayerpod.com, our website, from our merch, Patreon, upcoming live shows, whole 9 yards. That's over at marinelayerpod.com. And then find us everywhere across social media at marinelayerpod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. One more from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Sunday evening, July 6th. Lyle, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Just rip the Band-Aid off. What's the bad news?
The Mariners averaged less than 3 runs a game against the Pirates. Did they win the series?
They did. Wait, no, they did not average less than 3 runs.
They scored
Did they?
8 runs in the series.
Oh, yeah.
It's 8 divided by 3.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah, math class 101 here on the Marine Layer podcast. Nice job. Lyle, where'd you go to school?
Harvard. Sorry. I meant Harvard of the Southwest, ASU.
I was going to say the good news is the Mariners allowed 0 runs this weekend against the Pirates. That's why they won the series. So, positive and a negative. I got them both in there for you.
Dude, that was unprecedented shit from the rotation this weekend. 19 1/3 scoreless. I mean, I know the Pirates' offense is bad, but regardless, when you go out and do that against any big league lineup, especially in a series where you need to win and a homestand you need to take advantage of, like we've harped on, yeah, they went out and did it. Brian Wu, Luis Castillo, George Kirby went out and flat out dealt.
This pitching staff, since they got swept by the Diamondbacks, Lyle, which... would you say that's the low point? I mean, it feels pretty close to the low point of the season. There's been a couple. That one sticks out pretty well. Since that point, on June 11th, the Mariners have the 3rd best pitching staff in baseball. Like, they've for almost a month stretch, been back.
Yeah, and talk about a pretty good turn through the rotation, too. The one guy who just didn't all out have it in this last turn is the ace, is Logan Gilbert. He wasn't awful, but... it wasn't peak Logan Gilbert by any means. Again, we've talked about he hasn't really worked deep into games this year. But look at everybody else. You go from Logan Evans on Thursday, who went 5 1/3 shutout, to Wu, Castillo, Kirby. That's 4 really good outings in a row from the rotation. And then you always feel good having Logan Gilbert take the ball no matter what day it is, which he will in New York on Tuesday.
And how good does it make you feel that Kirby, I mean, not only showed up today, he outdueled Paul Skeens. Also, by the way, Pirates, absolute fucking malpractice to take that dude out at 76 pitches after 5 innings. What are you doing? He was carving up the Mariners lineup. And then as soon as they took him out, Randy Arozarena arrived.
Dude. So we spent a lot of time this weekend with our friends over at the Bucko Banner podcast, which is also part of Just Baseball, and they're kind of the Pirates version of us. I mean, they are as close to like what we do in Pittsburgh as you can probably emulate. Like they do some similar things to what we do. We were talking to them all weekend, and man, I mean, the takeaways from being a Pirates fan, it gives you some perspective. I mean, it really, really gives you some perspective. You want to talk about just constant PR disasters? The Pirates. Like terrible on-field play, terrible PR, nice ballpark, but not a lot else that's great.
And some people would say that's the Mariners, and not quite to that level. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Mariner fans have it pretty good compared to the Pirates. That's saying something.
It is a tough scene being a Pirates fan. Let me say that.
Could you imagine? I mean, I feel kind of bad for Adam, and Scott. coming all the way out here to Seattle to watch their team. And I know they understand their team sucks. Like, they get it. It's they explain to us, like, which, you know, we might have to take note of as we do this podcast. Eventually the Mariners will stink when we do this podcast. We'll need to find out things to talk about. But I'm like, I always ask them, I'm curious. I'm like, what do you guys talk about if the team is just hopeless? This major league roster just has no hope. It's like, yeah, you only talk about the minor leagues pretty much. That's it. Imagine getting on a plane and flying all the way to Seattle, the farthest trip you could take in the Major League Baseball season, and your team scores 0 runs. 0.
And by the way,
I could not imagine.
Well, 2 things. Adam and Scott are the 2 guys who host Bucko Banner, just for context for people.
And then Adam is their cameraman.
Yeah,
Other
so
Adam's their cameraman.
2 Adams and a Scott.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. Might have been a little confusing coming out of off the tongue.
All I was going to say is to see your team score no runs, that's something the Mariners have never done. The Mariners have never shut out a team 3 times in a row. They got to see a first time for everything and anything here in Seattle because they did not score a run all weekend. It's funny. They almost did that to the Mets last year, the Mariners. Remember that Sunday Night Baseball series?
And then the Mets got a Mickey Mouse run when they were down 10-0.
Right. So the Mariners almost did it last year. Now, I hope the trend is not the same as what happened last year, because when the Mariners swept the Mets last year, it felt like they were at about a high of the season, and Julio got back off the injury, and the rotation was pitching well, and everything felt like after getting Randy and Turner at the deadline, things were turning, and then they went on the road to play the Tigers and play good teams, and then things went crashing downhill, and the Mariners now go out and play the Tigers on the road and the Yankees on the road, so it's a little bit of a different road trip last year than when the Mariners played the Tigers, the Dodgers, and funny enough, the Pirates in Pittsburgh when it was the road trip from hell, Service got fired, etc. I'm really, really hoping history does not repeat itself here because they really can't afford to go out and go 1-5 on this road trip.
I'll give them this. The Tigers series is going to suck. It's going to be tough. The Mariners have a lot up against them. They have not beaten the Tigers in a series since 23, I'm going to say. They did not beat the Tigers last year in a series.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
no,
yeah.
No.
Because they nearly got swept at home, and they got swept on the road. Yeah, they got swept on the road. But the Yankees, at least, they've stunk recently. Have you seen the fallout in Yankee land here over the weekend?
The Yankees are on a tough stretch. Now, they could
The Mariners are only a game back of the Yankees right now, by the way.
Yeah, and the Yankees don't exactly have the murderer's row of of arms pitching against them in this series. It's Will Warren, a TBD, and there's a third. I'm missing it. I'll look.
And Clark Schmidt just went on, or is going to get Tommy John, so It will not be him.
I'm trying to remember who the other guy is. But anyway.
Rodon.
No, because if it was Rodon, it would have stood out. Anyway, point being, I still think it's going to be a tough series in New York because the Mariners don't exactly, dominate the Yankees when they play them either.
No, they don't. But Cal will dominate the Yankees.
Why?
It's Cal Raleigh week, everybody. Cal knows what's in front of him right now. 4 home runs to Ty Berry, 5 to break his record going into the All-Star break. And he's going to have to do it. Who is it?
Sorry. Marcus Stroman.
Oh, perfect. Great for Cal. I need a short porch Cal Raleigh home run this week.
So again,
or how about 2 or 3?
It's Will Warren, TBD, and then Marcus Stroman.
3 home runs for Cal.
Great. Then he'd only need 1 in Detroit to tie Bonds' pace.
It's Cal Raleigh week. Get him hot going into the Derby. And, show up Judge in his own ballpark. I think that sounds pretty good to me.
So I'm looking for people right now. Tarek Skubal last pitched on June the 29th. I'm going to assume he is very due for a start here in the next day or two. So would he line up to face the Mariners? Well, the Tigers don't play here on Monday. Tuesday the 8th, I'm just going through the projecteds right now. It's Flaherty, and then it's Wednesday. I know this is great podcasting, looking through who's pitching against who. But I'm trying to see if the Mariners are going to line up to face Skubal. And I don't know if they do. I don't know if they might miss Skubal.
Well, that would be a huge positive.
Yeah, it would be a huge positive. That's weird. So he last pitched on the 29th, and he's not projected this week to pitch against the Rays.
If he last pitched on the 29th, he would have pitched a couple days ago.
Unless he pitched today. But I feel like we would have seen about it.
Well, regardless, the Tigers are still loaded all over the place. So they're going to have... Did you find it?
Well, I was going to say, yes, the Tigers are obviously a loaded team, and they're one of the best teams in baseball, but still, like, you face Tarek Skubal in a game, it's probably a loss.
Well, we did say that about Skeens today.
Did they score a run off Paul Skeens?
They did not, no. And I don't think Tarek Skubal's getting pulled at 76 pitches in the fifth inning, or after the fifth inning.
Right.
If Skeens wanted to today, he probably could have polished off a complete game shutout at 125 pitches, and then his team would have lost in extra innings.
Probably. Oh, yeah, so Skubal did pitch today. Oh, shocker. He went 7 shutout with 10 punch-outs. So the Mariners are going to get him. Now we have it confirmed. The Mariners are going to see Tarek Skubal in this series because you're going to play the Rays for 3 and then get the Mariners for 3. So he will be slotted to start the second game of that series. So that'll be on Saturday. They'll see Skubal. Yeah, so you better take advantage of the Yankees because there is one game at least you can chalk up as a loss in Detroit.
You can put yourself at this point from how this week is shaken out in much better, playoff position with still a lot of way to go, but better, more solid playoff position heading into the deadline than I would say it was like a week ago because the gaps have closed based on how the Yankees and Rays have played and how you've played. Going 15-8 since June 11th, I mean, that has put yourself on significantly more solid footing going into the break and going towards the deadline than someone would have thought a week and a half ago as they were doing that. So that part's great. The only unfortunate part since June 11th, when the Mariners were 4 games back of the Houston Astros, ripping off a 15-8 stretch, the Astros have still been 3 games better than them over that stretch. So there's been no gap closed on the Houston Astros. In fact, it has grown even farther as the Astros walked into LA this weekend and smacked the Dodgers around. I don't get it. I don't understand how this Astros team is this good. They should not be, but they are.
I'll keep saying it. Again, you lose Tucker. You lose Bregman. Altuve looks washed. You lose Ronel Blanco to Tommy John. Christian Javier hasn't pitched all year. You've got a rookie that you're banking on to play a position he's never played in Cam Smith because you're making him play the outfield. There's all these things that don't make any sense. And by the way, Christian Walker hasn't been any good. Yet they are still dominating again. They are, again, I know people use the term on Twitter. I hate to say it, but it's true. They are inevitable. They are legitimately inevitable. You thought this run was done. The Mariners built around the way they were structuring their team to when they thought the Astros would fall off. They're not falling off. I think at this point, as we sit here on July the 6th recording, we can basically kiss the AL West goodbye. It's time to just look at the wild card.
But based on how the wild card's shaking out, that doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world. Looking at all these teams and how they're playing in this wild card race, it's a lot of mid.
It is a lot of mid.
There's only one other team with a winning record not already in a playoff spot right now in the American League.
Yeah, and it's the Red Sox who are 1 game up.
Who traded their best player away.
The only thing here is, and we'll get to the Red Sox here in a minute or two, but the only thing here is I think we're about to get a sense after this week, and certainly after the next 2 weeks when the Mariners also play the Astros and the Brewers, a sense of who are the Mariners compared to the rest of the teams fighting for wild card spots. Are the Mariners a legitimately better team than the Red Sox, the Rangers, the Twins, the Royals, etc.? Are they? Or did they just play an easy stretch of games and create a little bit of cushion for themselves? And then once they start playing more competitive American League teams like they will here, that it'll look different. That it's going to be more like a 1-game lead or a half a game lead or somebody catches them. I think this week is going to be very, very telling.
Well, we'll just have to see. Thankfully, those Astros games they get at home out of the break. That's a good thing. The Brewers will be interesting. I don't know how I feel about the Brewers this year. I guess we'll find out.
They are a good team.
They are. Yeah, they are a good team. Technically, if you look at the Mariners record, Lyle, they're also a good team. But then if you asked the two of us, would we sit here and say the Mariners are objectively a good team?
I'm just saying, if the Brewers come to town and it lines up where you face Freddie Peralta and Jacob Mizorowski, you're going to be in trouble. Because if you assume out of the break that they're going to allot their rotation to pitch their two aces pretty shortly out of the break, then they would line up to pitch in that Mariners series, both Mizorowski and Peralta.
Before we get to the Red Sox and one specific Red Sox, the Mariners had their All-Stars announced today as well. Did you have any reaction in what you saw there?
I did. There's a couple things to talk about. I do want to say, before we even get to the All-Stars thing, it is obviously a very, very positive thing the Mariners swept this series. Like I know we're sitting here talking about both sides and the concerns and saying, look, we need to see what they do this week, and I think that's all very true. But look, they won. They won the series. They went 5-2 on the homestand. That's a big deal. That's what we asked them to do, and they did it. So credit to them. They took advantage of lesser teams. That's what playoff teams are supposed to do. So shout out. All-Star-wise, look, I'm fired up for Brian Wu. We've been campaigning for Brian Wu to make the All-Star game all year. I could not be happier for him. I didn't know how that was going to shake out because it was less about Brian Wu and just more about the idea that American League pitching has been so good this year. There has been so many dominant American League starters that there was only going to be so many spots, and that's what I worried about a little bit. But to see Brian Wu get in on the first try, he's not replacing anybody. He's just an all-star right off the bat. Awesome, flat out awesome. He deserves every single bit of it. You go 6+ innings for 17 straight starts and put up a 2.7 ERA and walk nobody, you're an all-star. And now he can firmly say he is an all-star.
I am surprised. I thought he was going to be a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. That's what I think his numbers told me. Because we posted about it on our Instagram. If you just look at his overall peripherals, it's right outside the top 10. And that for the handful of starting pitchers that get selected, outside the top 10 is usually not where you look. But I'm happy he made it. He's a stud, and he 100% deserves it. Now look at this Mariners rotation the last 3 years, Lyle, and all the All-Star appearances in it. You have Luis, you have Logan, you have George, and now you have Brian Wu all making an All-Star game. And guess what? The guy who has pitched the best ERA in a single season out of all of them in a full season is the only one who hasn't made it. Isn't that kind of bizarre?
In Bryce Miller, yeah.
Yeah, and Bryce.
And by the way, if you get healthy Bryce Miller next year, who's to say he won't make an All-Star game? He absolutely can.
The way he pitched last year, especially down the stretch, if he did that in the first half of a season instead of a second half of a season, we would be talking about an All-Star. We'd be talking about a slam dunk All-Star.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's pretty crazy to think about. So just some more perspective on the elite development that the Mariners have had with this rotation and just how good they are at developing pitching and finding talent and maximizing it to its best potential. And the identification part, it's so crucial. And now that Brian Wu has been named an All-Star, you can look at that rotation and be like, man, year to year, you're always going to find something here. And it's great. In a year where your ace has not thrown a quality start since opening day.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. We talked about Cal officially getting voted as the starter already, right? I think we did that on Friday's show.
Yeah. Shocker.
Great. He deserves it. Again,
biggest upset of all time.
We spent so much time talking about Cal that I don't know what left there is to say other than here's just another accolade he's going to build for himself. Along with the 2 homers he hit this weekend, again, which was, again, crazy.
Oh, that first ball he hit on Friday, I thought was so close to getting out of the ballpark. I think it was only missed by 3 rows.
It's crazy. That ball was demolished. Demolished.
What did Adam and Scott say to us? They were walking through the concourse, listening to the pregame of the radio broadcast. I think they were doing picks versus Rick, and somebody picked, "Oh, Cal's going to hit 2 home runs today," and they were like, "Ha, no, he's not." And then Cal hit 2 home runs on Friday,
and they were like, "Well, we probably should have known."
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about Cal, we've talked about Wu, Andres Munoz. Again, I don't really know how much there is to say about him. The guy's been arguably the best reliever in baseball this year. He's having arguably his best season to date. He's getting an absurd number of strikeouts and ground balls. Yeah, he's an all-star. For 2 months, he didn't give up a run. What do you want to say?
And he had the 1 week of blips. Otherwise, it's been pretty consistent. You could have made a case for Gabe Spire as well. As we've talked about, very hard for non-relievers to get it. But then I sit up there here on Sunday, Lyle, and I watch Gabe Spire just dominate out of the bullpen, and you look at some of the peripherals he had, you'd say, all right, well, maybe there was a case there, but it's very hard as a non-closer.
Yeah. I think you said non-reliever the first time, but yeah, non-closer.
Non-closer is what I meant.
Very hard. So, look, if they gave a middle reliever a spot every year, or a non-closer a couple of spots that were allotted to them every year, yeah, Gabe Spire would have a real case. Unfortunately, saves still do mean a lot in all-star votes. Well, that's 3. There is one more to get to. How do we want to go about this one? About Julio making his 3rd all-star game?
If we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think I sat here and I said that I thought Julio should have been an all-star. Pretty sure I said that. Or I said that I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how surprised I am really at this moment. I think Lyle and I approached this from different ways, which is totally fine. I thought Julio's, his first couple months where his offense was solid and his defense was unbelievable. And then his overall peripheral stats, I think the most important one that most people look at is WAR, would be enough to get him, into the All-Star game. And then these last couple of weeks have happened where he has looked bad at the plate. And his stats, offensive stats for the season, have plummeted. He's now right about at league average offensively for the season, which is what we said probably shouldn't happen again, where you get to the trade deadline, All-Star break, and he's at a 100 WRC+. Well, right now I believe he's at a 101, which is not good. And if you look at his case stacked up against someone like, I don't know, George Springer, I could totally see the case on why on why people would be pissed that he made the All-Star team and George Springer did not. If they did this voting, though, 2 weeks ago, people are all riled up about it, but then it's like, so what?
Yeah, so there may be a June 30th cutoff for this. I can't remember exactly when players, fans, coaches, etc. have all of it cut off, the cutoff date. Because if it is June 30th, when that first round of voting closes, then yeah, that's what they were voting on back then, is back when Julio had roughly a 115, 117 WRC+. And if he still had that now, there would be much more of a case. And maybe that's what happened, where for people saying, well, Randy should get in over Julio, or for everybody out there talking about Springer and Rafaela and Jake Myers, there's a few other guys that had cases. If it's from 2 weeks ago and that's what the voting deviates from when the voting stopped, then yeah, there's much more of a case for it back then. Now, if the voting were to stop yesterday, yeah, I think people would. I think people would have even more of a case to say, were other guys more deserving? But again, if there's nothing you can do about voting's cut off at X period of time, and since then Y has happened, then that's just kind of out of everybody's control. If people were voting for Julio to be an all-star back when he had a 115 WRC+ and was an elite defender, that's much more warranted. So I get it if that's when the voting was cut off.
And if people would come to me and say, okay, the All-Star game has the biggest stars in baseball. That's why Julio ended up here. And because more players know Julio Rodriguez than some of those other guys you mentioned, okay, fine. The players ultimately decided on this. I'm not sure what the players used as a qualification to put Julio in the All-Star game. I'll tell you what. If it was the fans voting, fans in the most simplistic nature possible, right? Let's say everyone's familiar with WAR. You'd go to WAR, you'd look at the rankings of American League outfielders, and you'd say, yeah, sure. That's where most of Julio's value is, so we'll put him in. But I don't think players really do that. I don't think most players look at WAR. Carlos Correa is a unicorn when it comes to studying his WAR. Most guys probably don't even bother looking at it, because what benefit do you have to look at your own WAR? It'll just get in your head, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What were the players looking at? Is this just a name recognition thing then for the players? They've seen him on TV in the past. They see him in the All-Star game. They remember him from the home run derby performances. If they don't know him, and be like, okay, yeah, he'd be kind of cool.
It feels like more what it's about at this point.
Speaking of the derby, now that he's an all-star, he should be in the derby, because I can't think of anything better to help fix his swing than him to sit there in the batter's box and start launching home runs.
Oh, you stole my thunder. You stole my thunder before we started the show. I said I was going to bring that up. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Right. Anyway, everybody's going to act like they didn't just hear what came out of TJ's mouth. All right. I have a big proclamation here. Julio Rodriguez needs to do the home run derby. He is going to be in Atlanta already. He's going to be in the All-Star game. He needs to do the home run derby because he needs to start elevating the baseball again and get back to pulling the ball in the air. He is not only elite at the home run derby, but why can't that help him get back on track? Remember when he did it in 2022? Oh, what was his second half like? He dominated. Did it in 2023? What was his second half like? Well, he had the best 5 weeks of his career. Yeah, I would like to see Julio Rodriguez do the derby again. And by the way, as we're sitting here recording, there's still only 3 confirmed contestants. Cal, James Wood, Ronald Acuna. There's still 3 more spots open in the American League and 5 total. Julio should do the derby.
And given how many home runs Julio has right now, if he agreed to do the derby, who would he match up with?
I would honestly feel kind of bad because he would go up against Cal. which would honestly suck because I hate to say this. Like, this is supposed to be Cal's show, right? And this is his time to shine, and it's a big deal. He's doing the derby, and we're fired up to see him do the derby. If he plays Julio in the first round, I think I would put money on Julio to win.
This is Julio's game.
He is, I mean, again, who does what Julio has done in the derby? Nobody. So even if Cal had a great round and hit like 25 bombs, if Julio hits 37 or something like that again.
Oh, but do you remember with the new format? It's in the first round, it's not 1v1.
Oh, they changed it again, didn't they? How is it now?
Yeah. I think it's the top 4.
That's better. That's way better. Yeah.
So, like, they might get matched up in the bracket, but they're not facing each other one-on-one. The second round, they would, if they made it.
Well, right. That makes sense.
And also, fine. As you know, like, the totals can be a bit of a crapshoot. Do you remember the home run derby winner last year, Lyle?
Yes. We were sitting right there in Dallas inside of Globe Life Field watching it in Teoscar Hernandez. That was sad. In the span of like 36 hours, he ripped T-Mobile Park to shreds and then went and won the home run derby. Because that was when he said, yeah, I hated that batter's eye.
Mm-hmm.
It was at All-Star Week.
Yeah, it was. Yep. I remember that. Anyways, I think it would be very fun if they did that. I think it would be... here's how we can spin this as a good thing, right? There are going to be some people who say, Julio does not deserve to be there. He shouldn't be competing with all these other guys who have deserved to be in the All-Star game, et cetera, et cetera. All right, great. Julio, for the last couple of weeks, has really stunk at the plate, and that can really get to guys. Like, once you get in a spiral, it's really hard to, get out of it. Don't you think, like, competing in a fun derby would help? Like, your mindset's off of what you've been doing at the plate, and all of a sudden you're just like going back to being a kid and you're competing again. And just like get something else. You're thinking about something else besides your swing against the Houston Astros on the Friday after the break. No, you're not thinking about that at all. You're thinking about something completely different, right? I think that it would help a little bit. Yeah,
mentally maybe this will be a nice distraction for him. Maybe being around all these guys will, kind of be a way to, I don't want to say perk him up, but again, just like give him extra motivation. It's like, yeah, I'm around all the best players in the world. I want to prove to everybody that I am that and I'm still that. So between that, doing the derby, maybe it'll help him.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it does.
So. I hope so.
Now, yeah. I will say, in the few hours that the All-Stars have been announced, Julio Rodriguez has been used as absolute bulletin board material for a bunch of other fan bases across the American League who are mad that their guys are not in the All-Star game.
Okay, I get it for George Springer. George Springer deserves to be an all-star. I can't believe he didn't get selected. But also, blame the players. They voted on this.
I know.
Though George Springer's peers did not vote him in. It's not the fans. It's not the media. It's the freaking players.
Well, I think you need to tell our buddy Johnny Junta that, because he was firing off some tweets regarding Julio and his all-star nod this afternoon.
And also... Angels fans, I don't want to hear about Joe Adell. Joe Adell's having a very nice offensive season. Julio's like doubling him up in WAR. despite the fact Julio cannot hit the broadside of a barn right now.
Yeah.
So, sorry. You have to play defense too.
I think
either be the best offensive player or have a nice combination.
I think where more arguments stem once you get past Springer is the fans that are mad about Ceddanne Rafaela and Jake Myers, because they are more in the Julio boat in terms of the type of player they've been this year. Great defender, and then offensively, that is the second part of their game. But Myers right now, look, we're not batting average people on this podcast, but Myers is hitting over 300 for people that like that sort of thing. And Rafaela, his numbers aren't that dissimilar from Julio's. Their WRC pluses are about the same right now.
Who would you take in defensively?
Man, all three of those guys are really good defenders.
Mm-hmm. So then it comes back to name value.
Yeah, it does.
So, anyways, I think it'll be fun to see Julio there. Was he the most deserving candidate in the outfield? No, probably not. But they selected him. The players selected him, and he's going to be there. So now let's hope he does the Derby. Let's hope it helps him get ready and play better in the second half, because we still will have a Julio episode. I think on Friday we'll talk about Julio.
Yeah, I think it's about that time, because so he had a double off Paul Skeens here on Sunday, which was nice to see. But overall, again, it is still he was over on Saturday. There's a lot of baseballs on the ground. I think it's probably a good time to do it heading into All-Star break, and we can talk about what has to change for him in the second half. So I think on Friday we're going to dive into that, as long as there's no groundbreaking news and the Mariners don't do something like trade for Alex Bregman before then.
Speaking of trading for Alex Bregman, when I saw Adam Jude write about this in the Seattle Times, I was like, oh, okay. And then we went to Adam that day at the ballpark and we said, thank you for the content, Adam. So Adam did a trade deadline preview-ish article last week where he wrote about some options for the Mariners to target at the trade deadline. He was throwing some names out there. He clearly talked to some people within the Mariners front office about what they thought about these options, where the weaknesses are on the roster, and how they're going to address them. And Alex Bregman was in there. And the quote coming from the article says that a Bregman trade for in the Mariners sense seems like a long shot, but if the Red Sox make him available, sources say the Mariners would be interested. And how should we take that? We should take that as, I don't think the Mariners know right now, if they were to call up the Red Sox, whether or not Alex Bregman were to be publicly available or not. But if the Red Sox walked into this trade deadline and said, yeah, okay, I think Alex Bregman's going to opt out at the end of the season. I think it's better for us to get a return on him right now. We're going to make him available. The Mariners would pick up the phone and make an offer for Alex Bregman to the Boston Red Sox. They would be interested if potentially the best player on the market is available here at the deadline. Ooh, man, Lyle. Would I be interested in an Alex Bregman?
If you're not interested in an Alex Bregman, check yourself at the door. You know what? I love all our listeners and all our fans, and like I always say, we've met so many incredible ones. But I do have a statement for you. If you are sitting there listening or watching this, and your reaction to this idea is, and I quote, I don't want Alex Bregman because he was on the Astros and he cheated. Congratulations. You have just earned yourself a 1-day suspension from the Marine Layer podcast. 1 day. It's short. But if you legitimately say you don't have interest in Alex Bregman for that reason, you have earned yourself a 1-day suspension from the Marine Layer podcast. Because guess what? If you're not interested in Alex Bregman, then you are not serious about winning. This isn't even about the Mariners, because reports are the Mariners are interested in this. This is about fans in this fan base that I've now had to argue with over the last few days on social media, a little bit on Brock and Salk, who are saying, I don't want Alex Bregman because he played for the Astros and was a cheater. Then you don't want to win baseball games. It's that simple. You are fine having a third base crew run out there with with below average offensive production, because that's what the Mariners' third base spot has been this year. That's what you're saying. You don't want an all-star there.
And that was also a while ago, too. It's not like it just happened.
Yeah.
We're nearing the 10-year mark of this cheating scandal.
Yeah, we are. I know they were in the World Series in years after that, but the scandal's from 2017. And guys, Alex Bregman is not a bad person. Alex Bregman's not a bad person. He broke baseball rules. Okay, he heard a trash can get banged and hit some home runs and got some extra hits because of it. He's not a bad person. If anything, what everybody says about Alex Bregman is The guy is so unbelievably driven to win that he's been great in every clubhouse he's in.
And the Mariners love having that kind of player in there. And we've seen what kind of impact a player like that makes. Here's how I think about it. It's like if you were offered up prime Barry Bonds, would you say no because, I don't like cheaters?
I don't know, TJ. We had 58% of this fan base say they don't want Ronald Acuna.
Here's the thing. For all the reasons people said they didn't want Ronald Acuna, you wouldn't have to give up any of that for Alex Bregman. Does he have two? Has he torn both of his ACLs? No. Would you have to give up Lazaro Montes? No. Would you have to give up Matt Brash? No.
You're forgetting the biggest one, George Kirby.
George Kirby wasn't the deal breaker.
Yeah, it was Laz Montes for everybody. Actually, so not even Colt Emerson, who was included in that deal, who's the top prospect. It's Laz Montes.
You wouldn't have to give up any of that for Alex Bregman.
Yeah,
you know why? Really, because Alex Bregman has an expensive contract that he's going to opt out of after this year.
Yes.
It's almost a certainty, right? Here's how Alex Bregman's contract is structured for those who are curious. This past offseason, he signed a 3-year deal for $120 million. Excuse me. Great podcasting. Oh, that was great.
Are you going to edit that out?
Maybe or maybe not.
Good Lord.
So, Alex Bregman's contract, salary-wise, he makes $25 million a year. That's how much goes up against the luxury tax. $20 million per year of his contract is deferred, and he has an opt-out. So the way it's structured, it's essentially he has options this year and next year if he wants it, right? In this offseason, he has an option, and the next offseason, he has an option as well. The problem with the next two offseasons is that if he opts in this offseason and stays another year with the Red Sox to try and up his value even more, he will spit out the following offseason after the 2026 season heading into the lockout. Now that he doesn't want. If this is locked out, he can't sign a new contract unless he signs it before the CBA expires, which, what owner is going to give out a huge contract before the CBA ends? Probably none of them. Then his next free agency option would be whenever they finish another season, which could be whenever. They could miss the 27 season, and it could be after 2028. And then there's new rules in place, and there could be a salary cap in place. Then why would he want to sign that contract? Why would he want to wait until then when there's definitely less money available for him than he would this offseason? So that's why I assume no matter what, it's going to be a rental.
Yeah, I'll say that definitively. It is going to be a rental. Alex Bregman has a 938 OPS right now. Scott Boras is having him opt out after this year. Alex Bregman put up about a 117 OPS plus entering this free agency when he signed the deal with the Red Sox, and he's still got 3 years for $120 million. Mm-hmm. With a 938 OPS, and I know he's missed a few weeks with injury, with the year he's had so far, he's opting out. Scott Boras is going to have him get the biggest possible contract he can get in 2026 before the rules could get changed and before they enter the lockout. If the Mariners trade for Alex Bregman, it is a rental. I know he has years left on that contract, but it's going to be a rental. And honestly, that's probably why I think the Mariners would be interested in getting involved here.
And he's not re-signing in Seattle. That we could probably stone cold guarantee, because it would be many of the same reasons that the Mariners didn't sign him this past offseason. I think some of the discourse coming out about Alex Bregman in the offseason was about his fit for the ballpark. Here's what I would guess was the big problem for Alex Bregman. Personally, yeah, maybe he's not a perfect fit for the ballpark because he doesn't have light tower power, and someone like him could see a big power drop-off that he's not seeing this year at Boston at T-Mobile Park that could lower his value a little bit. So he'd be like, yeah, for Boston, I'm willing to sign a deal that lets me hit the market after 1 year, after a crazy offensive season. For Seattle, I'll sign a $6 for $200 million contract. And the Mariners are not going to give him $6 for $200 million. Even though they should, they wouldn't give him that contract. But the Mariners don't have to convince him to sign anything. He has no say whether or not he gets traded this deadline. No say at all. If the Mariners want to pick up $8 million they're going to have to pay for him at the deadline, great. That's what they'll owe him. And they'll get him for 2 months, and then he'll go into free agency and he'll sign somewhere else. Great. That's all we should be worried about right now.
Which is exactly why the Mariners are interested now and weren't interested in the winter. Because in the winter, you would have had to have paid him a huge contract and try to deal with Scott Boras, which again, you guys will continue to say it. A Scott Boras player has not signed a free agent contract in Seattle in 20 plus years. Scott Boras and the Mariners do not have a good relationship from what we understand. Like there is a rift there that has not been fixed in a long time. So there are reasons, even if we all don't agree with them, and I know TJ and I don't, and I know there's plenty of you listening that don't, there are reasons for why that didn't happen this offseason. In a trade, Scott Boras has no say. There's no trade clause in Alex Bregman's contract, and it would be a rental. It would be about $8 million, like TJ said. Yeah, like there's every reason to do this, and there's every reason the Mariners would be interested in this. So when the Mariners say they're interested now, that's why. It's not the same thing as signing him in the offseason.
And he is getting back healthy. He had a quad injury that he suffered at the end of May. He's almost back, which is great. The other good thing about Alex Bregman, he is legitimately having the best year since 2019. His 2019 season, I think, will be the pillar of his career, but this 2025 season, from an exit velocity perspective, from a power perspective, has all been very, very, very good. He might not walk as much as he used to, but it's still a pretty solid amount. He doesn't strike out. He likes to, his power is pull power. And he's a pretty complete offensive player, and he's solid over there at third base as well. It is really the complete package. After his last few years in Houston were good. Not quite this good, though. Not the value he's currently bringing.
No. He strikes out a little bit more than he used to. I mean, Alex Bregman used to run out some 12, 14, 15% strikeout rates. It's still under 20%.
Might have had some help.
Well, okay, Post Malone. I had some help. Anyway, I think he is still about as good a fit as the Mariners could cook up here. I don't really care if he's not a perfect fit for the park. You know he's going to be valuable. You know he's going to play good defense. You know he's going to hit. And you know that he is, like, again, even if he doesn't have a 900 OPS in Seattle, if he was a 120 WRC plus hitter in Seattle, it's still incredibly valuable. If for 2 months he was a 115 WRC plus hitter, but plays that defense and brings everything else that he brings about him to the clubhouse, yeah, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Because, again, he's not going to walk. He's going to walk. He's not going to strike out. He's going to play good defense. He will hit for some power. You know he hits doubles. And, yeah, he's about the best guy that could possibly be available.
If he runs out an 800 OPS, that would be a 200 OPS bump from what you're currently getting at third.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the difference between making and missing the playoffs. And also, you can think about it this way. The team right behind the Mariners in the standings is the Boston Red Sox. If they're trading away their best player, does that not just open up the playoff field for you that much more? It gives you exactly what you want. You want to make the playoffs, right? That's why you're trading for Alex Bregman, and you're doing it against a direct competitor as well. It could be, it's not only addition by addition to your roster, it's addition by subtraction to one of your biggest competitors right now. But on top of that, that could also be a reason why this trade might not happen. In Jeff Passan's article that he put out last week, Bregman was his number one player on that list, but it was only at 10%.
Which is where I start to have my questions about this. Not only the idea of the Red Sox being the closest team to the Mariners in the wild card standings, and if they'd really trade Bregman away, not just in general, but to somebody that's fighting with them that closely for the last playoff spot. That's number one. And number two, you know what my biggest question mark with this is and why I think it would get held up and potentially not happen? Can the Red Sox possibly afford the PR nightmare of trading away their best player because you had Alex Bregman on this roster, only to trade Alex Bregman 6 to 8 weeks later? I know you're not supposed to make moves to please or piss off a fan base. I don't know if they can afford that level of a PR nightmare at this point. They would have to be so far out of the wild card race on August 1st that there's no chance of them making the playoffs. If they were 6 games out of it or more, sure, then you could entertain it. They're not right now. That feels like a long fall to have in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And again, I think if you're the Red Sox, you're honestly going to have to let Bregman just play out that deal, walk in free agency, and hope you can re-sign him again. So
you're saying only if they're in contention, essentially.
The Red Sox, I think, would have to be so far out of it
Sure.
That's how the Bregman trade would happen. Because again, why did Rafael Devers get traded? Because Alex Bregman was on the roster. That is why Rafael Devers is not there anymore. Bregman was at third. They had to move Devers to other spots. Devers got disgruntled. He started to have problems in the clubhouse. He started lashing out about it and speaking publicly. And then the relationship got so strained that the Red Sox decided they had to trade him away. If Alex Bregman was never a Red Sox, Devers would still be in Boston. So can the Red Sox... Yeah, he would. Devers would still be in Boston.
Probably, yeah.
He would.
Probably.
Because his defense would still suck, but he'd be at third base.
What I think about it, in the transactional nature I know some of these general managers operate in, if you traded away your best player in order to establish a more consistent clubhouse, aura around your team and give a vision, better print on what you want, well, if you have a rental player sitting on your roster, no matter what, if it made that made you make your decision to trade away your best player, would it not just be more consistent of them to be like, okay, well, we're not good enough. We should just trade him anyways.
But then if they trade him away, why would they not trade him to the Dodgers? Why would they not trade him to the Phillies? Why would they not trade him one of those spots rather than trade him to the team that's closest to them in contention?
That's a good question. I'm not in charge of making the trade. We're just trying to pitch for the Mariners. The Mariners, once he becomes available, just have to pitch prospects. We can't think about this from a Red Sox perspective as much.
Well,
you're right, they could.
We can, because the Red Sox may not want to trade him in the American League, especially to a team they'd be contending with. Even if they trade Bregman away, I don't think the Red Sox would come out and say our season's over. Because if they traded him away...
they would probably say their goal is not the playoffs this year.
I mean, probably. Again, though, I guess
that move would tell you everything you need to know. I
mean, if they trade Bregman away, again, it means they've fallen further out of the wild card contention. If they are within 3 games like they are right now and they're 2.5 back, I don't think Alex Bregman's getting traded.
That makes sense. You're not going to trade Alex Bregman and still think you're going to miss the playoffs. Like, in summary.
You mean make the playoffs?
Make the play. You're not making... You don't think you're going to make the playoffs if you're trading Alex Bregman away.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Yeah. Look, I'm all for it. I think there's going to be a lot that has to happen between now and then, including the Red Sox losing a bunch of games. But you never know.
I'm glad the Mariners, someone has admitted it, that they'd be interested in Alex Bregman. I'm glad. Yeah. That put a smile on my face.
Well, they're interested in trading for him for 2 months. They're not interested in having him for a long time.
It is progress.
Which means the front office is interested in Alex Bregman.
Oh, good. Well, yeah.
Some others may not be.
That's right. And some of the members of the fan base who are going to support and buy tickets might also not be interested in Alex Bregman for some reason. But
again,
it's fine.
You cannot tell me if you're at a playoff game, Alex Bregman hits some 8th inning home run to take a Mariners lead from 3-2 to 6-2 on a 3-run nuke that sends them into the ALCS after, let's say, beating the Astros in the divisional series. You cannot tell me you're going to be sitting there in that ballpark and booing and pissing and moaning because Alex Bregman hit a home run. No, you're going to be screaming like the rest of the ballpark. You are not going to sit there and be pissed off that Alex Bregman is winning you games. You're not.
If they traded for him, his first at bat at home, do you think he'd get booed?
What's sad is I can't definitively say no.
Oh, I think he would get booed, which is sad. It's like, come on, guys. This is what we've been begging for.
If that happened, again, 1-day suspension from the Marine Layer pod.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's a good conversation about Alex Bregman. Man, I hope it happens. We're going to have to keep a close eye on the Red Sox these next few weeks because that will tell us a lot. In a market where there's not very many sellers, the Red Sox definitely have some pieces that people would think would be very good for the Mariners. And they hold the card of potentially the best player available, which the Mariners could use at third base definitely this season. All right, Lyle, let's close out this episode and get to our number 3 MLB Draft Spotlight. Eli Willits, an Oklahoma high school shortstop.
Man, we're down to the final 3 of these. It's the week of the draft, officially. And now we're getting into some of the best players in this class. Well, we've already been doing that, but now you're really getting into the cream of the crop. Eli Willits, switch hitter, 6'1", 175-pounder, young high schooler, 17 years old. And by the way, his dad, Reggie Willits, was a big leaguer, so he's got family ties that played in big league baseball. The thing that jumps out to me the most about Eli Willits is there's not one tool of his that jumps off the page. There is not one overarching thing about Eli Willits' game that says this is what a team's going to be banking on. The reason people like Eli Willits is because he's so steady and solid all across the board. Switch hitter, sprays the ball to both sides. They think he has the ability to play short and or center. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know about this guy. Very versatile, great athlete, and a bunch of potential, with especially how young he is.
Whenever you have a mold to put someone as a plus defender at either short or center field, he switch hits, he can hit for power from both sides, he plugs the gaps from both sides. If you just think about that in like the sense, it's like, all right, so where's the weakness, right? The only real weakness you can say is that right now, as someone who's not even 18 years old yet, doesn't have the raw power that some of these other guys, let's say an Ethan Holiday has, which, you know, is fine. But then you look, all right, plus hit tool, hits from both sides of the plate, will always have a platoon advantage, can play the two of the three most premium positions on a baseball diamond. Great. He can be a plus defender at those positions. Great. He can base run. He's a plus runner. Great. Like, there's a lot of tools there. There's so many ways that he can bring value to your team. If you're picking him, you know he's going to go down to the minors, he's going to hit, he's going to run, and he's going to defend. So if he's slumping in one area, he's going to be bringing value from a different area, which is really great, and I think which is why he's ranked this high in this class in a team like the Nationals. By the way, fired their general manager today, a week away from the number one pick. Crazy. Anyway, so the Nationals are sitting there at number one and looking, where do we want the best combination of value to come from? I can see why Eli Willits might be that guy, because it's from all over the place.
They say his left side right now is his better side of the plate than the right side, but point being, they view him as a very good switch hitter from both sides. I would say the power is that weakness. Look, I know he's got room to grow, and things can change with players over time, but evaluators seem to believe right now he's just never going to be much of a power guy. So with a number one pick, or for the Mariners potentially a number 3 pick, that is something you have to factor in. Do you want to draft a guy at number 3 overall who may hit 12 home runs a year? I think that's something very fair to consider, especially when you and I keep talking about the idea of taking a swing.
But what if he's hitting 50 doubles?
Well, that's a different story. If he's actually going to hit 50 doubles and play good defense and run the bases, and he's going to be a 3.5 to 4 win player every year, then yes, that's a really good player. But if he's going to hit 30 doubles and 12 homers, what is his offensive ceiling?
I don't mean to make a joke right now. You're sounding a little bit like Jack C. Is he hitting enough home runs?
You're going to take a guy at the number 3 pick. You got to have some power potential, I think.
Not if he's great at everything else.
How many guys are usually top 3 picks with a ceiling that says not much power?
Well, clearly, if they have the tools that Eli Willits have, they would be a top 3 pick. Otherwise, the prospect rankings will not have him rated this high.
The consensus seems to be he may never hit for power.
And that's fine, but they said also he's going to be good at almost everything else.
All right.
And that's and that's pretty valuable.
For example, I don't think Jackson Holiday will ever have ridiculous power, but he is still supposed to have power. They think Holiday can be a 25 home run guy a year, right? Can Willits be that? Can he grow into that?
He's only a tick below average power right now at this moment on a scouting scale.
Yeah, and again, they didn't think Colt Emerson was going to have crazy power, and he's proven to have more power as he's grown. But I think you've got to be pretty sure about that if you're going to take Willits. Just look, again, this guy's floor is a 3-win player every year, and that is very valuable on a baseball team because you don't just have 3-win players growing on trees. But if you want him to be one of the faces of your team, which is what you're suggesting when you make a pick this high, usually that does get associated with having some power. The best middle infielders in baseball, those guys have power. Bobby, Gunnar, etc. Power hitting middle infielders, and center fielders for that matter too. Usually the stars have power. Willits is a 12 home run guy a year. There is something to consider there. And I'm not saying it'd be a bad pick. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying this is a guy that's floor would be, again, a great athlete who does a bunch of things really well and hits for average. Not a lot of power, though.
Yeah. Well, that's up for the Mariners to decide. I do feel like, Willits, by the way, Jude wrote another article this week on the 8 players he feels like the Mariners are targeting after talking with them. Willits is on there.
Yeah. The guys that are on that list is everybody who you'd expect. So there are 2 guys we have not previewed yet. Should we just say their names?
You can say them. Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's going to be much of a surprise to people. There's 2 guys that we have not targeted yet, or that we have not talked about yet, that are on Jude's list. Cade Anderson, Ethan Holiday. Eli Willits is on the list, like you talked about. Seth Hernandez is on the list. Liam Doyle and Jamie Arnold are on the list, the other 2 lefties. And then there's also Ethan Holiday, 7. And I don't know if he wrote the 8th name down there. It was either JoJo Parker or Billy Carlson, I assume.
I think it was JoJo Parker. I don't believe it was Billy Carlson.
Okay. So point being, the 8 guys the Mariners appear to be considering are all the guys you would expect them to be considering.
You said Ethan Holiday twice. Iva Arquette is the other one.
Oh, you're right. Iva's the other. So yeah, it's still 7 then, right? So Arquette's the one.
With JoJo Parker as the 8th.
Oh, with JoJo as the 8th. Okay, yeah. So again, Iva's the one college bat. You've got the 3 college lefties in Cade, Doyle, and Arnold. You've got the high school arm in Seth Hernandez. And then you've got the 3 high school bats in Ethan Holiday, Eli Willits, and JoJo Parker. That's 8.
Yeah.
So that is everybody you'd expect.
Yeah.
So look, if the Mariners take any one of those 8 guys, we've sat on here and talked about, all of them are exciting and interesting in their own way. And how they make that pick come Sunday, yeah, we're going to wait and see. And I keep saying it every time we do one of these draft profiles, but we are really close.
I'm excited. And we're going to be in Atlanta in a week. How about that?
Well, less than a week. We'll be
I know, less than a week. It's coming up really fast.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was looking at the calendar today. It is coming up quickly.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a minute to get acclimated back to the weather, because for everyone listening who's up here in the Northwest, it has been very nice summer weather. Not hot at all. It is going to probably kick my ass in Atlanta.
Same. But that's just All-Star Week every year. It's usually in a location where it's pretty hot.
Well, if it came back up here, it'd be fine.
Well, that's true. But that's probably not for another 30 years.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll worry about that when it gets there. But looking forward to it. 2 more spotlights left. We have Aram Layton coming on Wednesday to preview the rest of the draft. Aram's great. He's got a lot of really good insight for us. We'll talk about Julio on Friday, and we'll wrap some things up for the first half, for the most part, before we talk about Julio, before we head into All-Star Weekend.
Well, I think we're going to do a little bit of a first half wrap episode for next Wednesday. Again, when we're out at All-Star Week. Something for people to listen to on Wednesday. Yeah. And we'll do that.
But we'll have some stuff to talk about. The Yankees series, and a lot of the first half wrap will be about Julio on Friday.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll get our Julio first half thoughts out on Friday, and we can talk about everyone else for Wednesday, which will be recorded in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
The following Wednesday. But yeah, it's exciting. All-Star Week's going to be a blast. And like I said, when they make that pick, I'm sure TJ and I will come out on social and we'll do a quick reaction to it. And then we'll have a podcast for a week from Monday about the pick they make. Yeah, it's exciting. It's all around exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Mariners do with this pick. We've been waiting 6-7 months now. And we're about to finally find out. So let's see it. All right. I think that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Audio-wise, make sure to download. Make sure to rate and review. You can find all of our stuff at marinelayerpod.com. It's a one-stop shop, including all of our merch, Patreon, our live show schedules. Go get your merch, you guys. Again, we keep seeing people buy it. We keep seeing people wear it around the park. It's been really cool. It's all over at our website. That's marinelayerpod.com. And then we're all across social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts. Follow us there at marinelayerpod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.